Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's Terry, your host. So we're still here in Pittston, just waiting on a load actually. Everything got fixed on my truck. Got the bunk heater fixed so we're not freezing. Got a bushing in my suspension fixed, and we had to wait till today to get the truck, the front end aligned. So that was that's been done, and we're just waiting to get a load out of here. I'm going home tomorrow for a concert, and then I got a play to go to on Friday night, so whatever load we get's going to be probably a quick job, and then we'll be back on the road on Saturday. And anyway, so I just wanted to talk about a place that I went through yesterday, and it's kind of it's an area of the country that I like a lot anyway, and it's the southern tier of New York. And there's a lot of interesting cities along the southern tier and along the southern tier expressway. And I grew up in western New York, so I grew up north of this area. I grew up on Lake Ontario, but that whole western New York, Finger Lakes area, the area along the Pennsylvania border, is just a lot of cool stuff. It's a beautiful area, but there's several towns along there, just like Elmira, which is, there's a college there, Elmira College, and I'm on the college grounds. There's Mark Twain had like a studio there, I'll call it. Olean, New York is there. Olean is where, if for all of my Gyrene friends, that's where the K-Bar knives were made for many years. I don't know if they're still made there, but they were made in Olean. What else is Corning? Corning Glassworks is still a big company there, and some really cool stuff. And Corning is a great little town too. It's just a nice town. I visited there, with my wife and stuff, and stopped at their farmers market, and in the summertime it's great. But the city in Bath, New York is a nice town. Hornell, New York, which is actually where my dad grew up in Steuben County, that's along there. But the place I wanted to talk about today is actually Jamestown, which is in Chautauqua County. And Jamestown is, one of the things I like about Jamestown is just like people that are from there. And there's a lot of noteworthy people, but like Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, who's, I guess, everybody hates. He's from there, but two of my favorite kind of female entertainers ever are from Jamestown. One of them is Lucille Ball. Lucy was from Jamestown, and of course, just like the queen of TV comedy. She kind of just set the standard, and an incredible talent. And so I think her impact is still felt in the television comedy world. And then the other person is somebody with just this incredible voice, Natalie Merchant, and of course 10,000 Maniacs too. Like I like all this stuff 10,000 Maniacs did, but I also really like Natalie Merchant. Just some of her solo stuff, and she's still. Sorry, my nose is itching. She's still out, doing her thing. She still has a great voice, and it's very soulful. I just like her. I've always liked her music and her talent. But another person that's totally on kind of a different world is Robert Jackson was from Jamestown. Now you might not know his name, but you probably know about him. He was the Solicitor General of the United States. He was also the Attorney General, and he eventually was an Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. But really, probably what he's most well known for, and I'm sure that this is really his legacy, is he was the chief U.S. prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials after World War II. So Robert Jackson was a legal giant, and made many important contributions to the world, I guess. The idea that evil, regardless of who it's carried out by, can be punished, and that the community of the world can hold people accountable. So again, a guy that just an American legal giant. So anyway, that's Jamestown. Also, just a little side note, Chautauqua County, which is, like I said, where Jamestown is the second largest producer of Concord grapes in the country, behind the state of California. But yeah, they grow a lot of, there's a lot of farms in that area. It like I said, it's a beautiful area. Lake Chautauqua, it's just a dynamite area. The Seneca Nation has a big holdings there. They don't really call it a reservation, but there's a lot of Native American lands in that area too. It's a very lovely area. The Finger Lakes, of course. I know I sound like a tourist. I work in the tourist office, but there's just a lot of awesome, cool little towns all over that Western New York, Finger Lakes area. Watkins Glen, Penn Yan. There's just a lot of Hammondsport, which is where the Curtiss Aircraft Company started. It's on Keuka Lake, one of the Finger Lakes. Just really, really beautiful area. So if you ever get a chance to go up there, even just driving your truck through, it's worth the trip. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about today is this, and this has been something that's been getting batted around, and it's it's kind of out there. So I saw an article in FreightWaves yesterday about this notion that one of the ways to solve the trucker shortage, and by the way, I kind of reject that term. There's not a trucker shortage. There's a shortage of people that could be truckers that just don't want to be. And we've talked previously about the drug and alcohol clearinghouse. There's 80,000 people tied up in that. There's a lot of people that have been in trucking that just get out of the industry. But anyway, one of the things that's posited as a part of a solution to the trucker shortage is letting 18-year-olds get their CDLs. Now, theoretically, increasing the size of the potential pool of truck drivers could shrink the shortage. But there's a few problems with this premise, and there's a few problems just with the idea that we're going to let 18-year-olds drive a truck. Now, let me preface this by saying 18-year-olds can do lots of stuff, right? I was in the military when I was 18. I did what I was supposed to do. However, if you've ever been in the military, the military doesn't give a ton of responsibility to 18-year-olds without a lot of adult supervision. And, the one thing that I think is lost on people when they talk about CDLs is it turns out that a lot of companies want people that are a little bit older for lots of reasons. Like, you see some companies that only want like somebody over the age of 24. Why is that? Does it mean that somebody that's 21 can't drive a truck, or somebody that's 18 can't drive a truck? No, of course not. But what happens in that time is when you say we won't take anybody less than 24, and by the way, that's not the policy at Prime, but when you say we won't take anybody that's less than 24, what you're also saying is we're not taking anybody that we don't have a decent sample size of their driving experience. And what do I mean by that? So some kids don't get their licenses as early as they can, right? Or their permits. Sometimes they're not, they're 17 and a half, 18 when they get their licenses. So can you imagine somebody gets their license when they're, say, 17 years and 10 months old. 2 months later, they turn 18. And they go down to the DMV or the MVA, whatever you call it in your state, and they get their CDL permit. And next thing you know, they're at a company like Prime. Well, and they're learning to drive a truck. And let's be candid, right? No CDL test in any state is gonna really show you the true driving skill of somebody. It's not going to show you their judgment, and it really isn't based on any experience. All they have to do is know how to, do a pre-trip, which is rote memorization. They don't really have to explain how this stuff works. Like here's an example. You take the permit test. Once you pass it, can you apply that information? The rote memorization of the pre-trip, and then do 3 or 4 backing exercises, and then drive around town for a little bit. That's it, right? And I'm not saying that's inadequate. I'm just saying that really doesn't prove much. It just proves that somebody can check boxes and not get too many points taken off. That's how you get a CDL, right? And again, I'm not criticizing that process. I'm just saying it proves very little. So theoretically, you could have somebody that's maybe like 18 years old, maybe 18 and 3 or 4 months old, and they already have a CDL. Well, additionally, they have only, they might only have a few weeks of driving experience in any kind of vehicle, right? I met a guy one time who wasn't 21, but we were sitting beside each other at a loading dock in Commerce, Colorado, and it was in the winter. And I got to talking to him, and he had been a truck driver longer than I had. But he's from Louisiana, and he only drove for Saya. And then he went through some life changes, went through a divorce, and he decided to go over the road. But he admitted to me, never had he driven through snow, not even in a car. And I'm like, it's really hard to drive through snow sometimes, and learning to do it the very first time in a truck, that's kind of scary for lots of people. The other thing, so that's one part of it, right? Like when that company says, oh, we want somebody that's 24, what they're doing is they're saying, we want somebody who's been driving a car for a while. We want to see how they behaved in a car, right? And then maybe they already have had a CDL for a while. But just somebody having a license means that you get to see if they've been responsible behind the wheel, okay? Behind the wheel of a car, behind the handlebars of a motorcycle, or, whatever else they drove, like a school bus, like, my trainee Connie had driven a school bus and a cement mixer, right? So if she had a terrible record driving a school bus, drove 30 kids off of a cliff, we would have known about it. And that's true with just a car license. A car license and how somebody acts in a car can tell you a lot about how they're going to act in a truck. Why? Because it's not about skill, it's about judgment. And if you're a parent, if you've ever been around 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and by the way, all the way up till 30-year-olds, right? Like people do stupid things because they have bad judgment. They their impulse control is not fully matured. And we know, like psychologists tell this to us. And even in the insurance industry will tell you that every month that goes by, a young driver decreases their chances, or their chances of having a serious accident are decreased. Kids that actually wait longer to get their licenses, like let's say 17 versus 16, 17 and a half versus 17, 18 versus 17 and a half, every increment that goes by, it actually, you turn out a better driver. So this idea that we're gonna fix this crisis with, this huge pile of 18-year-olds, it's flawed in its thinking, because it just ignores the reality of the market, the world, etc. But the other part of it is this: trucking companies, just because somebody could get a CDL doesn't mean they're going to want to hire them. If you can't look at a CDL holder and go, yeah, they've been driving a car for 10 years. Like when I got my CDL, I don't know how many years I'd had my driver's license, like years and years and years, right? And so they were able to go back and say, okay, is this guy a safe driver? Or does he have 40 speeding tickets in the last 10 years, right? Companies need to be able to understand the risks they're taking. And when the younger you get somebody behind the wheel of a truck, the less of a track record they necessarily have. It's not their fault, it's just how it is. And so I think this notion that we're just going to put 18-year-olds behind the wheel of a truck, it's just not going to work. Yeah, some states already do it. Like I think in Iowa, for example, if somebody's driving intrastate, like they're just driving a freaking, grain truck from the cornfield into town, those guys could have a CDL and they're 18 or 19 years old, right? I mean, I'm not saying that all the factors that I'm discussing aren't in play there too, but that's state law, not federal law, right? States can do what they want. And just everybody needs to be cognizant of that. But this idea that we're gonna fix something we're gonna fix a problem that we already have identified by basically changing the acquisition or the accession process that we've always had, really is kind of a bad plan. And truthfully, I don't think I would want to have the youngest person I've had in my truck as a trainee has been Gabe, and I won't say how old he is, but he's got years and years of experience driving. And even somebody that's got just some life experience, they've probably rented a U-Haul truck. They've probably, there might be other things that they've done that are relative and worth, considering when they drive one of these, semis. So I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts on it. I mean, I'm not worried about competition, like there have been people that are talking about it, but when you consider the safety and, I got kids, how 18-year-olds act, right? I don't think it's going to help your retention if you're hiring a bunch of 18-year-olds, because 18-year-olds are like puppies that have several bowls of food. They're just going from one to another to another. But I don't want to just say we can't have them, but what are their conditions? Would they have to be with a more senior driver? What are the conditions? And again, I reject the notion that it's going to really solve the trucker shortage, but I'll be interested to hear what everybody has to say. I mean, and oh, by the way, we've hit 710 subscribers. I'm so grateful for that. That's like really cool. So anyway, subscribe if you like what you're hearing. Subscribe if you don't. Like, comment. Love the comments. I always love the comments. And share the videos. But yeah, just let me know what you're thinking. you know, I don't know if this is going to come to pass, but I'm not sure if it does. It's a great idea, and even if it does, I don't even know that it's going to do anything to solve the problem they think exists. So anyway, be safe out there. We'll talk to you soon. We'll give you an update, and see you on the road. Bye.